Okay. Hello, everybody. Another installment of this type of series where I just get to talk about stuff that's been happening to me and around the world recently, around my world in particular, but in general, right? I've thought about this a lot and for a long while, and I feel like I understand that people don't really would want me to say this kind of stuff. However, I feel like as a person with a moral compass and a sense of self and idealism, not idealism, but have ideals. There you go. Felt this is like the necessary time to say, right? If you're wondering why I'm like this is such an old version Minecraft, I just installed it for nostalgia purposes, so looking into twisted, right? Anyway, what I wanted to say is that like people are so transphobic recently, right? And I don't necessarily understand, or I have a bit. I don't necessarily understand it, nor do I agree with it, right? And I know, like, coming from a person, a VTuber no less, it seems very odd to say that, where particularly VTubers are not known to voice such opinions like that. And I understand, like, you're kind of surprised or whatever, but honestly, right, I'm at a age and a time in my life where I believe, right, that if I do not or were not to speak up on such things, then I particularly am ignorant, or do I not want to engage in such things? Not in such things, but just discussions, right? And I feel like it's just very disingenuous for me to like not talk about it because like it deals with people that are within the VTuber community and people who are VTubers and just genuinely people in this world that I have met and been having friends with my whole life. And to see them be ostracized, criminalized, and in every sense of the word, antagonized by people who do not understand their way of life and their thinking and such things is so saddening to see. And I say that because like people just don't understand it. Yeah, and like of course people mainly religious, I guess the best way to put it is very conservative mindsets tend to view trans people as like the worst type of people imaginable, right? And necessarily don't I just don't understand it. I don't like the fact that a person who experiences gender dysphoria their whole lives are shamed to wanting to find a solution for such things that could legitimately kill a person and view them as her, 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 very heretical, not heretical, but like just shit like that just makes it seem as if trans people are not of good will and faith. And people utilize arguments of religion and race and well, not race, but like arguments that make no sense in a world that has evolved from those primitive times. Like ain't nobody getting stoned to death, bro. Like let's be or being stoned to death and like from the Bible, bro. Let's be real. You know, let's be dead ass here. And I made a tweet, right? And I know I'm a very small and like and chud VTuber, right? I feel like if I were not to say anything about it, then I'm endorsing it, or I don't recognize those who I don't recognize the issues that plague this world. Don't get me wrong, right? I am very knowledgeable certain things that is going on in this world. You know, I don't like the idea that am that I have to like not be political in terms of my content, which I feel like I have to because I am an adult, you know? I am a grown adult with a life, and my way of life is affected by those in which we make our beliefs systems from, how we vote for our government and leadership. And if we don't partake in not even debating, but just knowing the current state of politics, and like we allow people to overshadow our wants and our desires to succeed in a world that is cruel to even the most kindest of people, you know? And unfortunately, certain people that I used to know, or people that I used to follow a lot on social media, built into that sort of hate where they don't view a person of X, Y, and Z as a person, more as a just a object to antagonize, you know? And of course there's the argument of it's not that's not everybody, and while that may be true, the fact that it exists and it is at a point where it is mainstream or overwhelming the majority of people who do not know such topics makes this issue very, very important because the people's lives are at risk, you know? And I'm not going to argue against, I feel like if I argue against religion, then it just leads to nowhere because I think that would mean that I'm arguing against your belief system in which you've been living in and with for longer than probably I have, you know? Realistically, it's just like stupid and idiotic because like I'm arguing with the brick wall. There you go. You know, I'm not gonna I'm not gonna sit here and say if your religion is telling me to hate on people, then I'm not really gonna follow that religion. You feel me? Or really like listen to you with because like you're telling me that because this person is left-handed, I should like consider them the Antichrist, bro. Like, come on now. Let's be for real, you know? Or like this person is like Muslim. You want me to like hide, whatever? Like, we dead ass. Are we like stuff like that? It's like they justify religion as a means to they justify their religious intent or their intent through religious means, and usually that ends up being just being very hypocritical of a person, offensive, insulting, or just downright a bad person, and they hide behind this wall of religion. And I feel like the most I've seen it are like people who were caught doing some really bad stuff, turn to God as a means to atone for their sins. And I'm like, when I was in church, people would legitimately consider killing themselves because they thought, like, you know, like their sins are too abhorrently evil to be considered forgivable. And then you want me to feel bad about you for doing something that involves a certain billionaire, bro? Come on now. I am buying that. I'm being dead ass, bro. You're cooked. Like, I'm not supporting you. I'm not, following you. I'm not doing anything like that because, like, I don't know, twin. I don't know, bro. I'm calling you twin, man. I did some bullshit, you know? And what upsets me even more on Twitter, it's a lot worse. And I know Twitter is a cesspool of hatred and bigotry, and I should have really followed that. I'm doing my best not to because, like, Twitter in and of itself is just evil, you know. So I'm not going to really consider Twitter to be a safe haven for my opinion because it isn't. Now that there's YouTube, I think I'm at a platform and at a stage in my content creation where, like, I won't be ostracized for saying this stuff, which I think in the future I probably will because you know how the people are, you know how they are. They're very, again, hypercritical of what I say and do and support because they want, like, I have to fit this narrative of a VTuber, and I don't want to do that, I want to be who I want to be myself. I think the reason why I became a VTuber is because it's the best way for me to express myself in a way that I don't want to, like, reveal my whole identity, my physical identity. And I understand, you probably think I'm a fucking chud or whatever. Like, I don't really give a fuck, bro. I'm living my life. I'm happy, I could be like a skinny 150, 120 bag of bones, or like a 300 pound jujitsu master. Jujitsu master, bro. I don't really care what you think of me, man. Like, the Jujutsu Master is pretty badass. But anyway, um, I think, like, me talking about this stuff shows that my character is in the right place, because I don't want to be super facetious and, like, very fake and be all like, oh, I don't know about this, I do apologize. No, I'm not doing that, man. And I think, like, and I understand there are some VTubers out there that are too afraid to do it because they are under contract, which I wholeheartedly understand. It's unfortunately people have expectations based upon them by people that are above them in like a business sense, right? And I understand that completely. I'm not gonna fucking, like, bash you and shit and be all like, oh, you should really talk about this. I'm like, okay, I understand. I'm not gonna pressure you. I'm not gonna do all that. But I think, like, if you are a person who has control over their free will and speech, there should be a bit of, uh, knowledge and heart put into, like, what you're saying and what you believe in. I think, like, of course there's limitations to that because there's always limitations to that. There's never such thing as, like, a perfect world where you can talk about what you want. It may be good, it may be bad, which mainly is it's to deter the bad. And I think saying this is doing it for good because, like, I'm not promoting things that is uh, abhorrently morally wrong when I say trans rights or human rights, and trans women and men deserve the right to be human and have the right to exist. And the fact that saying that could lead to such consequences that could ruin my life is such an evil thing. It's so bad, man. And I think, like, the VTuber fans and their Oshis who, like, do and like promote negative stuff about trans people and post clips of them dispelling trans people. It's just so horrible, dude. Like, really? Are you fucking serious, bro? In what way, shape, or form is a trans person's right to existing affecting you in such a way where you deny them like that, you know? And I think like people use the excuse of when trans people or allegedly trans people or whatever they consider trans taking advantage of people. And I understand there's an argument for that because that does exist. You know, I'm not saying that like people turn to be trans and do bad things. You know, that's always in every situation. There is always an exception. Unfortunately, you know, there is no I think because when it comes to like serious topics like that, there is no like defending that. You know, like if a person hurts another person, then that person who then the attacker deserves to be punished. Just because they're trans doesn't mean like I'm gonna be like, oh, the guy, it's a trans woman that would call me he. I'm not doing that, bro. Are we dead ass, bro? I feel like I have the common decency not to do that, you know. Like if I meet a person in real life, like on like an IRL stream, right, and then they go by this name, this fake name, because they don't want me to reveal their real name. Do they really want me to say the real name on on live stream? No. Let's be real here, you know. I don't think they'll appreciate that. So for that, just to be honest with yourself, it's like how many caveats and nuances can I really put into this conversation without me sounding like a fucking conspiracist, you know? And then ask yourself another question. It's like, is it really worth my time to put myself in such a volatile position where I don't know what I'm talking about, you know? And you could probably apply that to me, which I'm like, fair enough, right? But at the end of the day, bro, I'm speaking this because I've seen the the, the type of hatred trans people face with every single day of their lives for just existing, and it's just awful and upsetting to see. If I were to face such scrutiny for just existing, then I don't think I'll ever continue to be who I am right now. You know, because I've dug myself in such a hole mentally and physically. Like I just don't know what to do with my life. You know, so I give like my huge props to them. You know, because I can't imagine myself going through all that. It takes a lot of bravery, more than probably I have ever in my life mustered up to have, you know, except for I guess today. I want to count uh this conversation as such, which I honestly don't really believe so, but that's besides the point, right? I think it extends this type of conversation extends to people who are gay or bi, you know. I'm gonna let you know now, right? I am bi, right? It's not like a secret at this point. I've told my chat, a very, very small chat about it, you know. I don't really care about talking about it that much. Not a huge thing, honestly. I'm not saying that to be all like, I'm the gay kid, the gay guy like everybody likes or what everybody wants gay people to be, which I think that too, to me, it's so fucking annoying. Cause like, you only like me because I act a certain way, you know? And I don't like that, man, you know? If you like me because it fits this narrative of how you want gay people to be, then honestly, fuck you, dude. I don't give a shit, bro. I don't give a shit, man. Like, fucking leave me alone, dude. I'm not gonna be if you honestly look at me and be like, oh, you're not like one of those gays or whatever, and like be all like, you know, I'm support you because you don't act all like whatever gay people, whatever gay you think gay people do. Honestly, dude, get a life, bro. Like, I'm not gonna be your Oshi if you're gonna treat gay people like that, man. Honestly, like, come on now. We're gonna. We're. I'm an adult. You know, I can treat myself and I can learn and act the way in which I feel comfortable in acting in public and in private. And for you to kind of like desensitize me, or not desensitize me, but to saturate me to such a degree of nonchalantness, I guess, or whatever attitude I give off, then honestly, I am not your VTuber, bro. Like, come on now. I'm not gonna be like that, man. I say all this right to point out that the fact that I even have to say this is so back. It's so bad, you know. I think I genuinely think that there are people in this world that just don't understand and don't want to understand the world in which trans people want to live in. You know, they want the same kind of things that you want and the same kinds of liberties that you also, you know, everybody wants. And the fact that it's being like erased in history and in this current world is very, it is very upsetting. And the fact, I think like VTubers are finding ways to like promote such things is also it's such an evil thing, dude. I've considered those VTubers to be the most, I think, the worst people in this world. Honest to God, you know, like these, and then people online support these VTubers and be all like, they want them to spread this their truth, not like not a truth that like these VTubers originally were living in, just like their chatter's truth or the current political climate truth, you know? And I think like there are VTubers out there that don't talk about it are the ones are really kind of like being the silent killers in a sense. Because really what you're doing is just like continuing this cycle of hatred, you know? And I understand, of course, like I said before, there's a bunch of nuance and there's always something that like prevents a person from speaking about it, which I understand wholeheartedly. You know, I'm not going to come in and like be an asshole about it, but I feel like the more you let it get to you and the more you try to build your brand off being transphobic, then ultimately your career is not going to go anywhere beyond its hateful rhetoric. That's pretty much it, man. You know, like you're gonna expect me to be a fan of yours when you say slurs, bro. Like, come on now. There's always, of course, you're gonna be that one person who's gonna be like, I am. I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm not talking about you, you know. But The fact that people like that exist in this world is just so bad, man. Will this VTuber landscape really learn from this? Probably not. I think VTubing and anime and like I guess like this kind of culture by itself makes it very hard to not learn for its audience to not learn because like they've built this I guess world like if they are not this type of person or this I guess like what you call it if they do not fit their own like metaphysical ideal picture of them then that person and that person deserve nothing. You know, I don't understand. I never understood that. I never really understood it. And I don't apologize for saying all this and speaking up for what I believe in because in reality, if I don't, then who am I? You know, am I just a VTuber or am I just bending the knee to people who really don't know who I am personally, you know? They don't know what I've been through. They don't know who I've met, who I'm friends with, who essentially the entirety of my life. You know, they don't know me. I'm gonna keep it that way because one, I don't trust you, bro. I don't know who you are though. You know, I don't know who you are, man. Don't look at me all like I'm your friend and shit, bro. I'm like I'm not your friend, you know. Well, let's keep it that way. I guess to end off this episode of the Wolfgang diary. I think it's more of a diary now that I think about it, you know? But anyway, I guess like a way to end off this kind of diary is to showcase my opinions. Ooh, spooky. I feel like me even saying this would like potentially prevent me from getting job stuff, but I don't really care, you know. If I stick in what I believe in and I continue to do that, then I think I'm happy with my life. Because then like it tells me that I've stood my ground, you know, against people who are notoriously known to bash those who stood their ground, you know. I don't have a flower to end off this episode, unfortunately, but probably just end off with like a Minecraft YouTuber exit, I guess. And I also want to say I do apologize for not posting so much recently. I think no, it's not really. I think it's more of just a me getting really busy with life. You know, being an adult kind of sucks. I don't know if you know that, but you know, being an adult has its ups and downs. You know, I'm graduating soon, not this semester, but next semester. Um, I'm also looking forward to get a job outside of YouTubing because, like, unfortunately, you know, I can't really be a VTuber and a very small VTuber and like not have a job or not have some sort of income. You know, I got people to feed, family to help out, you know, stuff like that. I can't really like afford to really. All right, I'll say this right. Trans rights are human rights. I'm pro LGBTQ plus. There's a lie. I can't rename them all right now. I apologize. Fuck transphobia and fuck homophobia. If you don't like what I say, then I don't really care. All right. F1. All right. Goodbye.